In this video, we'll rank the top 10 fantasy web series that are currently available on Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, Hulu, and Disney+. This is my third video on fantasy web series, and the links to the first two are in the description. After seeing this one, you can go look at those and watch the entire video to ensure that you don't miss any of the listed series. Now let's start the video. Number 1. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. It is a 7-part British historical fantasy miniseries adapted from Susanna Clarke's best-selling 2004 novel of the same name. The show takes place in a reimagined version of 19th-century Britain, where magic is widely accepted but rarely used. The major plot revolves around Gilbert Norrell, a reclusive yet highly skilled magician with a great understanding and history of magic. He utilizes his books to study magic and is recruited by the British government to assist the soldiers in its war against the French. Jonathan Strange, on the other hand, is a young and attractive beginner who is testing his abilities. However, the rivalry between these two men deepens as they compete to become England's finest magicians in order to aid their nation in its war with France. If you enjoyed the Harry Potter movies, then this show is for you. The series has a terrific story that transports us to a world beyond our imagination and is a must-see for fantasy fans. The show has an 8.1 rating on IMDb and an 88% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Number 2. Penny Dreadful. It is a dark fantasy horror series created by John Logan. The series takes place in London in 1891 and centers on Ethan Chandler, an American assassin who is hired by the brave Malcolm Murray and the beautiful Vanessa Ives to assist in saving Murray's daughter from an unknown entity. Similarly, they also receive assistance from a young doctor named Victor Frankenstein. During their search, they come across other legendary figures, such as Dorian Gray and Frankenstein's monsters, each with their own goals in dealing with the dark and evil in the world. However, things go south when Vanessa Ives develops a romantic interest in the attractive, creative Dorian Gray and discovers that a demon is haunting her and wants to make her his bride and queen. Believe me, if you want to watch an intense dark fantasy series with a ton of supernatural suspense and mystery, then don't miss this one. It is one of the best show of all time. And the show has an 8.2 rating on IMDb and a 90% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Number 3. Moon Knight. It is a superhero fantasy series created by Jeremy Slater. It is based on the fictional superhero from Marvel Comics. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it is the 6th television series that has continuity with the films in the franchise. The show centers on Stephen Grant, a kind employee at a gift shop who begins to experience seizures and hallucinations to a previous life. However, when Stephen learns that he has dissociative identity disorder and that he shares a body with mercenary Mark Spector, mysterious enemies attack them. Now, to save themselves, they are now forced to negotiate their complicated identities while being sucked into a dangerous mystery among the mighty gods of Egypt. The series is a globe-trotting fantasy adventure with thrilling action that keeps you on the edge of your seat. The show has a 7.4 rating on IMDb and a 91% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Number 4. Siren. It is a fantasy drama series created by Eric Wald. The series is set in Bristol Cove, Washington, a seaside community famous for stories of mermaids and mermen living there for ages. However, this peaceful village is flipped upside down when a strange young woman shows up and starts wreaking havoc on the small fishing town in an effort to find her elder sister, who was kidnapped by the local military. On the other hand, Ben and Maddie, two marine researchers, team up to determine what or who drove the deep-sea mermaids to land. The plot twist occurs when Ben, a smart marine biologist, feels attracted to Rin, a fascinating new girl with a dark secret, and the conflict between man and the sea becomes more violent as these predatory creatures return to regain their territory of the ocean. Overall, the show is magnificent and extremely interesting. Once you start watching, the amazingness of this show will make it impossible for you to stop yourself from binge-watching it. The show has a 6.9 rating on IMDb and an 88% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Number 5. Midnight Mass. It is a supernatural fantasy horror series created and directed by Mike Flanagan. The series follows a young guy named Riley Flynn who returns to his lonely hometown on Crockett Island, attempting to restore his life after serving 4 years in jail for killing someone in a drunk driving accident. Unsurprisingly, he shows up at the same time as a young priest who is charismatic and appears to be performing miracles in the community. Yes, you guessed it correctly. Something evil is unfolding, including bizarre and horrifying incidents. But what makes Midnight Mass so terrifying is how it addresses religion, faith, a perilous legendary creature, and the lengths to which people will go to understand. Do not miss this show. It builds slowly, but is well worth watching. The show has a 7.7 rating on IMDb and an 86% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. Number 6. The Outpost. It is a fantasy adventure drama series created by Jason Fuller. The story focuses on Talon, the lone surviving member of the Blackbloods race. A decade after her entire community was slaughtered by a gang of ruthless mercenaries, Talon travels to a lawless castle on the edges of civilization in search of her family's murderers. While traveling to this outpost, Talon realizes she has a unique and enigmatic supernatural ability that she must learn to control in order to save herself and protect the world from a violent religious leader. The series starts slowly, but it improves with each episode, so I recommend sticking with it for the first season. Do not worry, you will not get bored because the show has a terrific story and plenty of monsters and action to keep you entertained. And the show has a 6.3 rating on IMDb and an 87% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Number 7. Forever. It is a fantasy crime drama series created by Matt Miller. The plot centers on Dr. Henry Morgan, an immortal medical examiner in New York City who utilizes his vast knowledge to help the NYPD solve murders and find a way to end his immortality. Each episode has glimpses that show different aspects of Henry's life. His first death occurred 200 years ago while attempting to treat a slave on a ship involved in the African slave trade, and every time Henry dies, he vanishes nearly instantly and reappears again in a nearby river. Henry has lived a long life and has acquired a wide range of knowledge and exceptional observational abilities that impress the majority of individuals he meets, including Detective Joe Martinez of the New York Police Department, and his best friend Abe is the only one who knows his secret. If you enjoyed the Lucifer series, you will absolutely love this show. The only negative point is that it only has one season. The show has an 8.2 rating on IMDb and a 92% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Number 8. Black. It is a fantasy thriller series directed by Kim Hong-sun. The story centers on Han Moo Gang, who joins the Regional Crime Unit detective team in an effort to learn the truth about a case that occurred 20 years ago. But when he dies tragically, a Grim Reaper takes control of him and is compelled to find his missing partner. During the investigation, he learns the truth about a series of cold case murders that occurred 20 years earlier. But investigating the murders makes the Reaper's primary responsibility of leading the departed to their separate afterlives more difficult. Particularly after he falls in love with a mortal woman named Kang Ha-ram and breaks magical laws prohibiting him from interfering in human matters. Unexpectedly, Kang Ha-ram has the ability to see death's clouds, and he and his companions use this power to violate the laws of God in order to save people's lives. Overall, the show is outstanding and has a great storyline with many twists and turns that hook you from the first episode itself. The show has a 7.9 rating on IMDb. Number 9. Atlantis. It is a fantasy adventure series inspired by Greek mythology. The show is set in the present day and centers on Jason, who operates a one-man submarine to look into a deep water disturbance that caused his father to vanish when he was a young boy. When Jason uncovers the location, the submarine begins to fail and he is drawn into a white light. Jason wakes up on the shores of mythical Atlantis, which is ruled by an orthodox King Minos and his power-hungry cunning wife, Queen Pasiphae. Under unusual circumstances, he is provided sanctuary by a couple of jobless locals, Pythagoras and ex-prize boxer Hercules. As they live the Greek mythology and strive to do good and protect the innocent, the three of them confront monsters, gods, and other supernatural beings. Along the way, they pick up several companions including Medusa, the king's daughter, and an enigmatic oracle who doesn't seem surprised by Jason's presence. If you want to get a glimpse of what an Atlantis would look like, you should watch it. Although the show has certain drawbacks, fantasy fans will enjoy this show because of the fantastic story. The show has a 6.5 rating on IMDb and a 62% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. Number 10. Emerald City. It is a fantasy drama series based on the early 20th century Oz book series written by L. Frank Baum. When a thunderstorm transports Dorothy Gale from Lucas, Kansas, far to the city of Oz, her presence triggers a prophecy about a catastrophic occurrence known as the Beast Forever and frightens the wizard, the land's all-powerful ruler. On her journey to Emerald City to meet the wizard, Dorothy comes across witches, an amnesiac soldier, a protected little boy, and many other enigmatic creatures who will ultimately define the future of Oz and Dorothy's position in it. Overall, the show is excellent. There are plenty of simmering romances, creatures, magic, and prophecies to keep you fascinated. And if you like the Once Upon a Time TV show, then you'll enjoy this one. The show has a 7.1 rating on IMDb and a 78% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. That's it for today. Thank you for watching this video. And do subscribe our channel to see more videos related to movies and series suggestions.